Now, let's try to take it one notch up. That is, we are going to take a for loop and we are going to include a else statement along with it. And let's see how we can do this. So for that, I'll again go back to the general format which we have. That is, we were printing out those numbers. So for I in my numbers, the first thing that I'll do is I'm going to print out the number, that is print I, and after the for loop is over, I'm going for an else condition where I'm going to only simply print out the statement like, let's say, loop completed. So this will tell me that the entire loop has been executed. So when we run this, you can see here 1 to 5 these numbers were repeated. Okay, so all the numbers have been printed out, and once this for loop is complete, now it directly goes into the else statement, and it simply says, because this has been executed, so the next logical thing that Python sees is it will go to the else statement and will print out that particular statement that we wrote as loop completed. So that is the reason you will see here that we have this loop completed printed out. Okay. Now this was when we used a list. Okay. Now let's actually try doing something along the lines of a dictionary. So for this, we have to first define a dictionary. So let's say I'm going to define a dictionary called values, and inside that, just to make it a little interesting, let's give it the character names of this TV series of Tom and Jerry. Okay, fine. So here, the dictionary, I'm going to start off writing the names of those characters. So let's start off with Spike. Second name that we would want to give is Tom. Third name that we have is, let's give it Jerry. The fourth, let's give Jerry's nephew Tuffy. Okay, so these are the four characters we have inside this dictionary. So let's run and define the dictionary. Next, let's just check whether everything has been successfully created. So we have these values. I have just ran this and we see this output which clearly says that this is in the form of a dictionary. Now, let's take simple for loop again, but this time using the particular key. So keys in our case are 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are going to actually take the values of the value inside the dictionary. So key value pair, we are going to call on the key and take the values using a for loop. Okay, so for that we can start off with something like for I in values. So let's make it very simple. In the beginning we'll simply say print values of I. Okay, so in this case what would happen is for I in values are going to, it is going to call on the keys 1, 2, 3, 4, and inside this for loop in the print statement we have actually called on the value. Okay, and so the key value pair, we have the key, and now using the key we are calling on the value Spike, Tom, Jerry and Tuffy. So if you simply run this, you would see those names of the key value pairs are now appearing. So this is how you can actually perform this task using a dictionary. Okay, now let's say if you want to add an else statement to it. So I'll say else, and here just for simplicity what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out a new line first so that we know exactly where the loop ends. Okay, so it's going to print the new line, and then it is going to print one more statement which says like, let's keep it the simple one again, loop completed. Okay, so once, now in the beginning we saw the four names appearing. Now when we run this, you would see that after the for loop gets executed, it's going to the else statement. And the first thing that we have asked Python to do is print a new line. So it has left one line, and then it is printing out this statement loop completed for us. Okay, now if you have to really understand what exactly is happening, let's try to actually include a for loop along with the if, else, and elif statements. Okay, so even this kind of coding that we are about to do now are mostly prevalent inside any kind of for loop that happens. So if you have a case wherein you have more than two or three conditions that you want to compare, and you also have one master condition which has to be fulfilled, for which these conditions have to be again checked. So that can be done using a for loop, and inside the for loop you have a nested if, else, and elif conditions. So let's see how we can perform that. So I'm going to stick to this particular dictionary that we have. So I'll say for I in values. Okay, this is the for loop I have started, but inside the for loop I'm going to mention if my I is equal to 2, then let's print out a statement like, and inside the print I'm not just going to print a statement, but I'm going to actually call on the value. So I'll say values of I and comma, let's simply say versus Jerry. So if you pay close attention, 2 was nothing but Tom. So we should get a statement like Tom versus Jerry. Okay. Now this was the if condition. Now let's take a elif condition. Inside the elif condition, let's say if my I is equal to 1. If it is 1, let's just print. Again, we'll take values of I, but this time I'm going to say versus Tom. Okay, now the third condition that I would like to put is a elif condition where I'm going to check I is equal to 4, and we are going to print, and this time I'm going to actually take f string. So we'll call on the this variable directly instead of writing it as a comma. So we'll say Jerry with, and here I'm going to say values of I. Alright, so these are the elif condition. Two elif conditions, let's stick to that. And finally we'll give a else condition where we'll print a new line first. So print of new line, and after that let's print out the statement the end. Okay, so let's run this and see what exactly is Python performing, or how exactly is Python taking in or reading in the data. Okay, so fine. So once we run this, you will see something very interesting happening here. First, it has printed out spike versus storm. So that was expected, because if condition, it is saying if I is equal to 2, it has to print this. Then it's saying Tom versus Jerry. Okay. So Spike versus Tom was actually this particular statement over here. If elif is equal to 1, because Values, we know it is going to start from 1. So here what has happened? Initially the value of I is 1. So if it checks this statement, if I is double equals 2, it would turn out to be false, so this statement will not be printed. But this statement will be printed first because the value of I is 1 in the beginning. So we get this value of Spike versus Tom. This is the first line that you got printed. Okay. Once this is complete, we know it is going to come out of the loop. So it is going to completely come out of this, and again it will go back to the for loop because like we mentioned previously, the for loop will keep repeating itself till it reaches the last element. Okay, so I is equal to 1 is complete. Now when it goes to I is equal to 2, that's the reason we see this particular statement getting printed, Tom versus Jerry. Okay, if this statement got printed, again it comes out of the loop. Now for the value of 3, when the value of I is 3, you can see here the if, elif and the other elif condition. Nowhere it is going to see the value of I as 3 because we have mentioned the values as 2, 1 and 4. So what it does is as soon as it enters the for loop, it is going to skip on these 3 values and it is going to print the commands that we have in the else statement. So we have a new line that's printed first, then we have the end that is printed. Okay, but that wasn't the complete for loop. We already have this variable of 4 that is not executed yet. So once this else condition is executed, so after we get the end, it is going to go back to for loop and it will find that still has the value of 4. So value of 4, when it enters, these two conditions will go false. But if I double equals 4, this will be true and we will get a print like Jerry with Tuffy. So that's the reason this got printed. And because it is the end of the loop, for loop execution stops there. Okay, so this is how you can actually combine a for loop along with multiple conditional checking using a if, elif or else conditions. So this is what I have for you guys to in this video. Thank you.